In 1943, as tensions mounted across the Pacific Theater, the U.S. military convened an emergency meeting to propose an ambitious idea, developing a device that would allow soldiers to move silently through the jungle at night. Japanese defenses on islands, in forests, and under the cover of darkness were notoriously difficult to penetrate. Many American night infiltration attempts had failed simply because a soldier stepped on a twig, crushed a fallen leaf, or slipped on an uneven stone. A general slammed his palm on the table and said, "If American soldiers can move without sound, the jungle at night will belong entirely to us." Thus, a secret program was born, one that would be known as Silent Step. The program was assigned to a young engineer in his early 30s who had just begun to distinguish himself within the Army's engineering division, Benjamin Carter. He didn't look like a soldier at all, gentle, thin, wearing narrow-framed glasses, always carrying a thoughtful expression at the corner of his mouth. His sharp intuition for mechanics and materials made him the ideal candidate for the project. He was given a converted underground laboratory, a small team of materials scientists and psychologists, and a budget designated by the military as priority without limitations. Carter soon presented a bold concept, a soft, silencing glove that would cover the foot like a glove, absorbing and dispersing friction and pressure noises, making footsteps vanish entirely. It used a new type of fiber, soft yet extraordinarily shock-absorbent. Carter recalled a childhood memory, walking across deep winter snow, where every step was swallowed in silence, giving him a buoyant, floating sensation he never forgot. So he told his team, "What we need is to make soldiers feel like they're walking on thick snow, no matter the ground beneath." After dozens of failed prototypes, the first generation of the silencing glove was finally completed. It was light as air, wrapped around the sole without restricting movement, and when pressed against the floor, made almost no sound at all. During the first laboratory test, everyone held their breath. A soldier walked across a metal floor. What should have been a crisp, ringing clang became a faint, barely perceptible tap. On wooden planks, the sound vanished completely into the air. On gravel, even the sharp little stones failed to produce the slightest noise. Military officials were ecstatic after witnessing the results and immediately approved an expansion of the project. Carter's team gained more equipment and resources. People began imagining American soldiers moving like shadows through the jungle, destroying entrenched enemy positions without warning. Late at night, Carter would stare at the prototype on his desk, filled with pride, certain that his invention would change the course of the war. But he had overlooked something crucial: laboratory floors were always flat, dry, and controlled, while real battlefields were never so accommodating. In the spring of 1944, Carter traveled to a field training base near Hawaii with the latest batch of silencing gloves for the first real-world test. The area was dense with vegetation, muddy ground, and slick tree roots, an accurate simulation of the Pacific Island battlegrounds. An 8-man squad was assigned to the test, excited yet skeptical about the mysterious equipment. The moment the soldiers stepped into the jungle wearing the silencing gloves, a strange layer of silence settled around them. Unlike the lab, the jungle terrain was unpredictable: roots, pits, wet leaves, and loose soil everywhere. Within 2 minutes of advancing, unease appeared on their faces. Their steps produced no sound, no feedback, as if walking on air. They couldn't judge their balance, as the sensations from their feet were blurred into an unsettling softness by the fiber material. One soldier twisted his ankle and nearly fell, another stepped on a tree limb but couldn't sense the height difference, hesitating just long enough to almost topple into a nearby pit. The squad leader wrote a chilling line in his first debriefing: "Soldiers don't walk with their feet, they walk with their ears. Footsteps tell us rhythm, terrain, direction, and balance. Take away the sound, and you take away our direction." Carter pushed for another attempt, hoping the soldiers only needed time to adapt. But the problems were far worse than he imagined. During the third test, a soldier stepped on a wet leaf at night, a simple, harmless sound under normal conditions, but with the silencing gloves, he had no tactile warning at all. His foot slid across the leaf, his brain reacted too late, and he fell hard, smashing his leg against a rock and crying out in pain. The squad leader snapped at Carter, "You're designing silent gear, not a way to cripple soldiers." Yet Carter refused to give up, convinced that with the right adjustments, the flaws could be overcome. He persuaded the military to authorize a full-night infiltration simulation, the most important test the Silent Step project would ever face. That night, the jungle was unnervingly quiet, heavy with the scent of soil and decaying leaves. The squad advanced toward the mock enemy camp, their footsteps floating silently in the dark. According to the plan, they should have moved like shadows, but instead, their movements were stiff and hesitant, bodies swaying, their feet pressing into what felt like bottomless voids. Suddenly, one soldier misstepped and slid down a muddy slope with a thud. The others rushed to help but, lacking the same sensory feedback, stumbled one after another until 3 of them ended up in a heap on the ground. The squad leader finally exploded, his roar echoing through the forest, "We're not shadows. We're walking like our feet are tied." The incident shattered Carter's confidence. The next day, the military halted all further testing and called psychologists to evaluate the soldiers. The results were even more alarming. Several showed signs of spatial disorientation, distorted time perception, and impaired environmental judgment. Some described the sensation as losing ownership of their own bodies when wearing the gloves. The psychologist's conclusion was clear and cold: the silencing gloves removed not only sound but also the feedback loop between the brain and the body. Humans cannot walk normally in total silence. What had always been dismissed as noise, the sound of footsteps, was actually essential to balance and self-awareness. Within a week, the Silent Step program was formally terminated. A red, permanently classified, stamp sealed the folder. Carter's team was disbanded, and he was reassigned away from research duty. All materials, footage, and field reports were stored in a high-security archive, as if the project had never existed. It wasn't until 66 years later, in 2010, that the files were declassified. The first time the public saw the black and white footage, chills ran down their spines. Soldiers drifted silently across the ground like shadows, yet staggered without balance, collapsing like soulless figures in the dark. Without footsteps, they looked less like trained soldiers and more like wandering ghosts. Late in life, Carter was interviewed while holding a sample of the original prototype. His eyes were tired, deep with regret. He spoke a sentence that left the researchers in long silence: "We wanted soldiers to move like ghosts, forgetting that ghosts have no footsteps. When humans stop hearing their own steps, they slowly lose themselves." The Silent Step project became one of World War II's strangest and most profound footnotes. Not every technology that makes a person silent makes them stronger. Sometimes, what we think we are removing is noise, but what we are really erasing is the very core of human existence.